All right, guys, we're talking all about church weddings today. We don't want to do a lot of fluff. We just want to get down to the nitty-gritty of the pros and the cons. Why would you get married at a church venue instead of I'd say traditional. Really, the church venue is the traditional church venue. But guys, we got Mayme Castile with us today. Mayme, welcome.
Hi. My voice sounds a little bad this week. I've been sick, but I'm good now, so that's great. I really hope I don't sound like I smoke like 10 packs a day.
Right. Well, thank you for being on. Mayme is a longtime friend of me and Holly. She was our own wedding photographer. It's been almost 5 years now, Mayme.
It feels like longer than that, honestly.
That's
crazy.
Time keeps ticking. So Mayme, you did great on our weddings 5 years ago. You continue to do great work, and you're based really doing work in Tennessee and Alabama and surrounding states. So that's incredible. Tell us a little bit about your wedding background, how long you've been doing it, and why we should be listening to you today, Mayme.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm a portrait and wedding photographer, as you know. I've been doing this for, I think, like 8 years now. Okay. So started in like late high school, and it's just really what I've been doing my whole life at this point. I mostly shoot intimate and backyard weddings. I didn't originally intend to do that. It's just become like my thing, and it's what I really love doing. I'm not by any means limited to those types of events, but it's like my bread and butter. It's what I mostly do.
Yes.
And then I do lots of family photos too, which I love and adore.
And this is your first video watching on the channel. We're glad you're here. We do a lot of cinematic venue tours, mainly in Central Alabama right now, but we'll be doing the whole state of Alabama and into other states eventually. So if you have a venue that wants to be featured or needs to be featured, a full tour, we'd love to feature them. And we help you think through booking your venue and also maybe even booking your vendors too. So today we're talking about church venues, which a church building's not usually built with a wedding in mind. They're built with services in mind. It's a religious structure. So okay, on the front end, we're gonna share lots of stories this whole video. There's some great stories and some not so great stories. There's pros and there's cons to getting married at a church. And so we're gonna go through those. On the top end right here, we're just gonna talk about the pros. Some three pros right here at the beginning. One pro is that it can be significantly cheaper, maybe. Another pro is that it's deeply traditional, and another pro is that it's deeply spiritual and emotionally significant. So tradition, spirituality, emotionally, and it oftentimes can be a lot cheaper than a typical venue. So those are your pros, and we'll be talking about those more in detail. And then cons, you have lots of rules and regulations. And this could literally be a 2-hour video just on the rules and regulations that churches have. Yeah. So if you're considering getting married at your church, stick around to know some of these rules and regulations that you need to be aware of because, well, okay, I'm gonna save this for later. But yeah, personal story. We got married. We got married at a church. Me and Holly did, and Mayme was our photographer. And there were some rules and regulations we didn't quite know were there until Holly was about to walk down the aisle.
And that was their photographer's fault, but I digress.
So we'll talk about some rules and regulations. And then second con is it's not always ideal for natural lighting and visuals. Sometimes it can be amazing. It's beautiful. For sure. So, but sometimes not so much. And then a third con is that it's just limited ability to personalize the space and limited ability for other photo ops, which kind of goes with your aesthetic and natural lighting. But, some of these are facts, and some of this is just opinion today. So, and we don't want this just to be me and Mayme speaking. If y'all have opinions, let us know in the comments because we want to hear your experience too. Everyone has a different experience, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's talk about, first let's back it up because church weddings didn't disappear. I know we have lots of parents or grandparents saying, well why don't you just get married at church?
Yeah.
Like we used to do. It's just, there's a lot of things that go into this discussion and a lot of stats that I want to bring up here, but it's not necessarily that church weddings disappeared. It's that the culture has shifted a little bit. And because for decades, church weddings were the default, But now it's just an option that people can do.
Yeah.
Some churches don't allow weddings at all, and so here are the nuances.
Is that
of
really
it.
a thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, because some churches, if you allow one wedding, then you have to allow other weddings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It depends.
I've definitely heard of churches limiting them to members or like attendees. I've definitely heard of that before.
Yes.
I've just never heard of like, oh, we don't allow weddings. That's crazy.
Right. Well, I mean, like I believe Church of the Highlands, they allow people in their ecosystem to get married at the chapel there, but not other things. And, also Church of the Highlands, they don't allow their own small groups to meet there on campus because of certain things. They just have to have certain rules and regulations, because if you have 100 small groups in a mega church, you can't allow a few to meet on campus and a few not. And
I'm sure the insurance gets really confusing too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, anyway, sorry. I didn't know that. That was a new fact for me.
Yes, very true, very true. But I think it depends on if you are at your root deeply traditional or, religious in a way. Because if you're not religious in any way, you're not really going to consider getting married at church.
I can push back on that.
Okay, tell us.
I've had at least 2 non-religious church ceremonies.
Okay, tell us.
I think they mostly did it for budget and for like the beauty of the space. There are a couple churches in Nashville that are, there's more than a couple, but there are a few that are pretty well known for being super inclusive venues. And so I've had at least 2 couples get married in a church, and the ceremony was very non-religious.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like not even a prayer.
What are those venues?
One of them was Vine Street.
Okay.
And the other one I think was Scarlett Bennett, which I don't even know if that's really considered a church anymore, but it is a chapel.
Okay. Yeah.
But the Vine Street is an actual church.
Okay, that's a good point. So people are actually, there are venue owners making venues that appear to look like a church.
Well, Scarlett Bennett was a church. It's like a chapel space, but I think at this point it's been turned into like a community center.
Okay.
Stunning. It's gorgeous. And they have a lot of community events. It's not a venue.
Okay.
It's more like if you were getting married at a church.
Okay.
It's not a venue. Simultaneously, I don't think it's a meeting church. Does that make sense?
Right. Okay. Like with congregation, pastor, and all the things.
No, I don't. But I could be completely wrong. I don't think that they are.
So some people are still getting married in a traditional church setting, but it's not necessarily an actual practicing church congregation. Yeah. That's good. But the chapels are great because you do have the big windows and the natural lighting, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times. So it's like this mixture of you kind of want to look traditional.
Yeah.
And there's also like these Gothic style churches or chapels, right? Like a solid black or brown building or something, or even the all white chapel looking building.
No, I've seen a lot of those. Honestly, I will say, just personal opinion, I feel like when a couple is like bringing a venue to me as a photographer, I think my least favorite venues tend to be the ones that are like trying to look like they're a church.
Oh, okay. Why's that?
It never photographs the way it's supposed to. Like it never looks natural to me. Like you have this like all white chapel space but it's a wedding venue. It just never, there's something missing. And I think it probably is that like maybe the spiritual element or the heaviness or
Sure.
maybe the lack of aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's like missing. And I'm like, well, this doesn't look, it looks like a venue still.
Right.
No hate to that though. Like if that's what they want to do, it's just like.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about the budget thing, because a lot of times when you start to book, you have to have your budget in mind. Like, hey, what's your total number?
Yeah.
And then what do you want to allot to a venue or your photographer or whoever you prioritize for your top vendors? So a lot of times it can be significantly cheaper. So a few things with this. If it's your own church, you grew up there, like me and my wife, we got married at her church, and her dad is the pastor and her mom's the worship leader. They've been there for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Actually getting close to 30 years being there. So in that case, it doesn't cost, it didn't cost us anything to get married at the church. We did pay a fee to a sound technician who was there, which we got married in 2021 coming right off of COVID. So we live streamed it. So there was a church tech that we paid just a few $100 to man the audio for the live stream.
Gotcha.
So a lot of times, if it's your own church, it could be free, but sometimes there's a small fee, like a $500 fee, or just something small enough to where it's like a retainer, you know?
Yeah, and I've also heard of places where you like pay a fee, but you get it back if there's no damage, things like that.
Absolutely.
I think that's relatively common.
Totally.
I think cost is a huge part of it. I know if we would have gotten married at my church, it would have been free. But at the time we were meeting in a gym, and I was like, absolutely not.
Y'all had some unique couches and furniture in there.
We did. It was cool. But we have a really cool, like, actual sanctuary space now. But yeah, I wouldn't have done that. It saves you so much money, though, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not a venue. Like,
Right.
it's you're saving money because there are all these services that a venue provides that a church just doesn't provide.
Absolutely.
Even if you do have a reception there, like, you're going to get, like, folding tables and chairs. You're not going to get cane back, wood, chair. Like, there are things that a venue might just have sitting around that a church is just not paying for.
Totally.
So, like, yeah, you're saving money, but it's not. I don't think you can equate the two, really.
You're exactly right. They don't have the decor options. They don't have the nice tablecloths. Some churches do have good tablecloths, but they might be black or dark blue or something that's not your color palette, not what you're wanting.
And I don't mean that in a negative way at all. Like, I love church weddings. Obviously, I do a lot of really intimate weddings, which means some of them lean towards being in church buildings. I love that. I just think it's funny when we're talking about cost and it's like, oh, you save all this money. It's like, well, yes, you do. Very different thing.
Very different thing. Absolutely. So if saving money is one of your highest priority, you could, and you're going to have a high guest count, because I do want to do another video with you, maybe, where we talk about backyard weddings, because you love those, and that's like one of your favorite things to do. And y'all got married in the backyard, right?
Yeah, we did.
That's awesome. So we're gonna talk about that. Stay tuned for that. But so that's a great way to stay cheaper than paying a venue, but you still have to rent and do other things with the backyard wedding. Yeah. Same thing with the church. Like, the church is a great option if say you want to have more than just 50 or 70 people in a backyard. You still want to invite 200 or 300 people.
Yeah.
So a church could easily host that, but it might not ideally be the aesthetic or have the things that you need for that.
Well, and sometimes it's like you can't even host the reception at the church.
Right.
Because like, I would say the majority of church weddings I shoot, they don't. Like, you didn't. You didn't have your reception at the church.
That's
Where would you have done that at that church?
Right.
Nowhere.
There was a carpeted gym that...
Yeah. Now, I will say, though, I think some of my favorite weddings are the ones where it's like you have this ceremony at the church. You have this fun, like, there is something so special about a couple walking out of church building doors with, like, their friends and family, hugging them.
Yes.
And then hopping in a car and going to the venue. Like, that, I love those moments, and I can't get those at a different type of venue. They don't exist.
Yeah.
But I think those are some of my favorites. Is like they get the best of both worlds, but then you didn't really save any money.
Right.
If that was your goal, because you have still rented a venue.
Totally.
For the reception.
Totally. Absolutely. I think that brings up a great point, and just makes me think back on my wedding day. Is we decided to get married at the church, but not begrudgingly, not like, oh, we have to, like, Holly, your parents are pastors and we have to get married at the church. But we genuinely wanted to get married at the church.
Yeah.
And we wanted that significance of those church doors opening, going down the aisle. There were pews in, and it's a beautiful grand piano there. We had musicians, we had violin, cello, acoustic, we had 3 vocals. And I actually wrote, not to make this about me, but I wrote the song for her coming down the aisle. Was the song that I wrote.
I remember that.
And
I remember that.
The chorus is, open up the wedding doors. I hear the church bells ringing. The bride has come. The bride has come. And the white dress, I think white and clean. The bride has come. The bride has come for me. It had a little line. Da, 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 da.
And then you got really bad ceremony photos, and we can talk about that later.
No, they were great. They were great.
No, they weren't.
They were great.
Continue.
At least we had a great video. No, I'm just kidding. No, we had great photos and video. But no, that's very true. It's very, there's something special about it. If you grew up, especially if you grew up in that church, which I didn't grow up going to this church, Holly did.
Yeah.
So it means a lot because, especially to her parents, like they brought their family to Pell City, Alabama, and raised all the 4 girls in this
Yeah.
church, and now she's walking down the aisle.
Oh, I can imagine how like emotional and full circle that is. Like,
So yeah,
it's
the
so
tradition,
sweet.
it just adds to it. And since Holly's dad walked her down, and then Pastor Mark, who's the youth pastor, and he's been there for a long time, which I love. But youth pastors that are there at a church a long time, there's a lot to be said about that, because man,
it's a hard job to stick to.
it's a hard job to stick to. So Mark, you're amazing. But he said who gives her away, and then Holly's dad took on the rest of the ceremony and preached and officiated. But it was so special, and and logistically, oh man, okay. I said before we started, Mayme, I really wanted this video to be 30 minutes or less, but I feel like this is going to be 3 hours long because I have so much to say. But logistically, and as a DJ, because I do DJ weddings, logistically in a church
Wait, you
too. What? It can be, if you're going to have live musicians, logistically, it's just easier at a church. Because, well, it can be.
Yeah. No, and live
be.
musicians are so great.
If you
That's,
don't
like, so
have a good
worth
tech,
it.
that can, it can be a disaster. But a lot of times the input's already there, the speakers are already there. You just plug and play. And, if we were outside, we'd have to get a keyboard and the acoustic guitar inputs, violin, cello. We have to mic all them up because we had 300 people at our wedding. So it's like,
That's so many, yeah.
Intimate weddings, you don't always have to mic up a live strings or something. You just come to ambiance. Okay, anyway, I'm getting sidetracked.
No, you're all good.
But there's something to be said about the actual church doors opening, coming down the aisle. And we did not do a first look that day, which I already knew, even working in the industry. I think I was 5 or 6 years working weddings at that time. And I already knew logistically, if we do a first look earlier in the day, it's going to give us more time to do family photos and other things, not rushed, right? And I already knew that, but it's the actual concept and the tradition and the emotions that come from seeing her for the first time down the aisle with everyone else too.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons. I go back and forth,
Oh, yeah. I'm going to say this a lot. The experience of a wedding day is so much more important than the aesthetic of the wedding day.
That's good.
So like, if you're getting married and you don't want to see your bride before she's walking down the aisle, because as a little boy, when you thought about getting married, that was just like drilled into your head and that's what you've thought about forever, then do not have a first look because then you get this moment of doors, and especially if you're at a church and there's a big long aisle, that's incredible. And I never will push a couple against it. Now, if they are like, we want to have a first look, I'm like, great, awesome, thank you. Because as a photographer, it makes my day a lot easier.
Yes.
Or like we had a first look for our wedding because we were both like, we cannot handle the stress of like not seeing each other that whole day.
Right.
And I will say, I did have a backyard wedding one time with some friends and clients of mine, but they had 11 days of separation.
Wow.
Before they actually had him walk down the aisle. So they had a dinner and then they separated for 11 days and then he walked down the aisle and they hadn't seen or spoken at all for 11 days.
Oh my goodness.
Which was crazy and emotional.
Yeah.
And like, so those kind of moments, like you have to judge what you want out of it.
Right.
Totally. But yeah, there's this magic of like those doors, like the creaky doors. And again, this is all if you're getting married in a church that has like a sanctuary. I'm not describing like a mega church with like blacked out ceilings.
Right.
This is just a different environment, but like that transcendent, beautiful arch ceiling space.
Yes.
I love it. I eat it up.
Come on. And not all churches are equal.
Yeah.
Just like not all photographers are equal. DJs, vendors are not all equal. We can't just put a blank statement over all churches. Yeah. So there's so much nuances. But okay, yeah. So it can be significantly cheaper. It was completely free for us, and besides the tech there, to help us with the live stream because we were coming out of COVID, so we live streamed to people that could not be there. And we were able to host a ton of people, but we did not do our reception there. So we did pay for a great venue in Pell City that I love, that we were outside because I didn't want to be inside the space, except for where the food was. And so everything was great. Okay, that was a pro, is it can be cheaper. Let's talk about, I'm gonna save the rules and regulations for a little later. Let's do another pro. Okay. Another pro is that it's deeply traditional, which we already talked about that.
Yeah, really.
It's if you prioritize your faith, your heritage, or a classic ceremony, then churches will naturally reflect that, that reverence, that meaning. So that's a huge thing. I don't think we have to spend a huge amount of time on that because I think we understand that.
Yeah.
And if it's important for you, that's great. But to some people's, that deep tradition is not important, and that can be a letdown to parents or grandparents. But at the end of the day, it is about you and your fiance, your spouse,
Yeah. I think with weddings at churches, like, I do love it. Sometimes the ceremony's longer, and I really enjoy that. I enjoy that aspect. Like, I came to see, well, I'm there as the photographer, but like, I came to see people get married.
Yes.
Like, so I like it. Like, Catholic weddings can take that really far, actually.
Right.
Those can be really long.
Yes.
But like, I do love that aspect of it, but we've definitely touched on it for sure.
Well, let's talk. Well, since you bring up Catholic weddings, there are other different denominations that have different traditions, and we're not going to pretend to know all the traditions and all the different denominations.
No.
But that brings up a good point, because with your non-traditional wedding venues, it does lend itself to those 10-minute ceremonies or even less.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I don't know what you see with these. It's like 10 minutes or less. You're in and out, and you're barely doing the traditional unity candle or communion or even sometimes when they do the foot washing or a big prayer moment or everyone, you miss out on those things because they want to quickly get to sunset photos and partying later, Which as a DJ, that's fun.
It's fun. Hot take again.
Hot take? Come on.
I'm not going to judge anyone for what they want to do on their wedding day.
Right. Absolutely.
It makes me a little sad. It makes me a little sad when we don't hear vows from a couple or because like the point of the wedding is that you're meeting and you're saying these vows, and that can be private or that can be like but I've had weddings recently where like there's not really even like a repeating of a few commitments. It's like, oh, we did all that privately. And I'm like, oh, but do it in community. Do it with these people. And
yes.
And I love ceremony.
Absolutely.
Honestly, like, I thrive in like ceremony and tradition. So those are really fun for me. And it makes me sad that weddings are like losing that. Because I'm like, well, the wedding is like you do the wedding and then you celebrate it.
Right.
And I feel like we're getting to this point where it's like we almost try to skip the wedding just to get to the celebration. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that says.
That's good. That's good.
But yeah, I love it. Like, we did communion during our ceremony just to slow things down. We did several things just to slow it down because I was like, do I want to be standing up there for 3 hours? No. But I need it to be like 20, 30 minutes where it feels like, because you did all this work to get married.
Right, totally.
So, and I think a lot of people also are like scared they're going to be so nervous and scared. And it's like, there are exceptions. There are people who feel that way. I think most people, you're like standing up there and you're so excited that you're not even thinking about time. Like you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm getting married.
Right.
But yes, I think with like Catholic weddings, they can be anywhere between like 30 minutes to up to 3 hours.
Yes.
And like a 3-hour ceremony, that would be a lot. That would be a lot. But if you want to do that, that's great.
And it's not just Catholics. There's some other denominations too. Is it? I'm gonna start saying random things. Is it Anglican as well?
I think that I think it's longer. I think any form of like Orthodoxy.
Yes, any of the traditional Orthodoxy. There's a lot of tradition. Sometimes there's even multiple officiants, multiple pastors or fathers, priests, whoever giving. I've been to one where there's three different guys giving. Like preaching, reading and talking and even chants. You're chanting a prayer over the couple and congregationally, and there's a lot of tradition in that.
And then there's on the opposite end of like culture and tradition. We shot a Kurdish wedding together recently,
totally,
and they didn't have a ceremony, which I didn't know was a thing. There's no wedding ceremony, but it's from my understanding, I think they have like a party like a week before that like starts everything. I don't know.
Lots of dancing too.
It was so fun. It's awesome. But I was like, oh, there's no ceremony. You're here because they're married today.
Yes.
And we're just celebrating that, which I guess is what our culture is trying to get to.
Right.
So maybe we're just trying to like do a little reverse Uno on
That's a good point.
how we operate for weddings.
Yeah, we're gonna get there at some point. I know on my wedding day, our wedding ceremony started at 6 p.m. It was on a Friday, and we knew it was gonna be kind of, once we got rolling, it was just gonna go fast.
Yeah.
We didn't do any cocktail hour or anything, and we didn't have any alcohol or anything, so we knew it was just gonna be straight ceremony, everyone eating.
Yeah.
And then we're all dancing, then we're all leaving.
Yeah.
And we had a big party, it was a big time, but it was kind of crunched. It was 6 to 9:30 was the whole time frame of the big stuff. Ceremony at 6 and reception. We were, I think, headed out around 9:40 or so. So, it can be done in 3.5 hours.
Oh, it totally can be. I don't remember. I think our ceremony was might have been at 5, might have been 4:30. I don't remember. I do know I was like, I would like to be done at 8 p.m. I'm done.
Okay.
I'm headed to my hotel. And everyone was like, no, you won't. And I was like, no, I'm flying out for my honeymoon the next day. I will be gone at 8 p.m.
Yes. Well, and with that point of not seeing each other and being with you, I spent 20% of my day with Holly.
Yeah.
Which means I spent 80% of the day not seeing her. So there's pros and cons. So like you have that amazing moment of down the aisle where you've waited, anticipated all day long. But on the other side, it's like most of the wedding day I didn't spend with my bride, because we were getting ready and other photos separately and stuff. So there's pros and cons. If you really value being with them most of the day, then go ahead and do first look.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, tradition. Third pro to this is deeply spiritually and emotionally significant. And actually, I'm going to change this more to like community because, and this only really relates to people that are members at a church, right?
Yeah.
Like this is a community for me, and I think that aspect is really great when you have a community of people that you've walked with through childhood or youth group, through college days, even some new connections, but also past ones, and the big communal aspect. I think that can happen in any wedding, at any wedding venue.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the community specifically at the church building that you grew up with?
Yeah, I think you touched on it with like Holly, like with like her parents, seeing her get married in this building that they've spent so much time in. I feel like you can't manufacture that. Right. So like if you're looking at just choosing between a venue and a church and you aren't like tied into a community in any way, you're not just going to magically get that.
True. By
using a church instead of a venue. That's not going to happen. But if you love being somewhere in and out each week, or maybe it's not even about you, maybe your parents, it's really important to your parents and you like want them to have that for the day, then I think it's really valuable and good.
Totally.
But yeah, I think you touched on that well with Holly. Like that's a perfect example of,
yes,
that's really cool. But.
Yeah. We loved what we did. And a lot of couples, and what I've seen too with this page and what I've seen through different comments online and other YouTube videos that we've made is that 9 times out of 10, couples do not really regret what they do on their wedding day. Have you noticed that too? Like there's not a ton of, it's like this rosy retrospection. It's like this, I can't see any bad in my day because it was my day.
Yeah. I think the only times that they regret it is when they leaned way too hard into what other people wanted.
That's good.
Or like living up to other people's expectations.
Bingo.
Like the only thing you hear about is like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have spent so much money on flowers or whatever.
Right.
Insert random thing. Or I wish I wouldn't have done this thing I really didn't want to do.
Totally.
But yeah, like the rest of it, it's like, why are you gonna regret it? Unless you regret getting married, which that's its own thing.
That's its own thing. Well, I hope we've painted a good picture of these first 3 pros. Like there are so many great reasons why you'd get married at a church venue, at your own church for sure. But even if it was just a church that you found in Nashville or in Birmingham, that wasn't your church, but you still wanted a traditional looking, for whatever reasons, and there's a lot of religious reasons for that, then by all means do it. But when you do book a church venue, there are many cons that come along with this. And this is actually...
there are some cons.
There are some cons, and this is where it starts to get real.
So can I tell your story instead of you?
Sure.
Because I think it's also... if you're going to use a church venue, your vendor really matters.
Yes.
So, like, if you're booking a church venue, they a lot of times do come with rules and regulations. And the vendor that you hire becomes so important for two reasons. One, are they a professional who knows how to research things in advance? Carson did not have one of those. And two, it's, are they like a good person who can communicate well with other people? Because, like, for example, I shot a wedding in downtown Nashville at one of the cathedrals in downtown, and they have like a ton of rules, and I had reached out to them in advance because I learned from what we're going to tell you happened to Carson's wedding. So now if I'm in a church, I'm emailing them like 2 weeks in advance. But they had a lot of rules that were honestly so complicated. And then day of, I walked up to the church member that was like in charge of managing the space for the day. And I was like, hey, these are the rules I received. I just want to confirm this is what this means. And she was like, no, you can do this and this and this. I'll walk you through it.
Oh, nice.
But she literally told me that and I was like, oh, wow, I'm surprised. This is so much less than you emailed. And she was like, well, we want to know that the photographer is respecting that this is a religious ceremony. And as soon as we can see that, we're going to give you some leeway to respect the ceremony, but like to still get good pictures. But if I have a photographer that comes in guns blazing, I'm going to do whatever I want to get the shot. They're standing at the back. She was like, because they're going to start breaking all the leeway that we give them. And we know that. And we've had those experiences.
Absolutely.
And I was like, okay, noted. So what I always do as a vendor now is I reach out weeks in advance to a church, if it's a church, and I ask for a list of rules. And whether they send me one or not, I will then reconfirm those rules day of.
That's good.
And I have in my contract that I'm not going to break their rules. So if you tell me to stand in the back, I will be standing in the back. Like, that's what I'm going to be doing. Now, Carson's wedding, basically there was, I don't know who she was. Who was that lady? Do you know?
Yes, she's part of the church. Yes.
So there was a church member that was in charge of, I guess, coordinating the event for the day. And literally maybe 15 minutes before they were going to walk down the aisle, she pulled me and the videographer aside and was like, just so you know, the church's rule is you have to be in one spot at the back for the whole ceremony. And we were like, oh, okay, this is a massive church. Like, this sanctuary, Carson said, they had 300 people. I didn't have the equipment for that. I wasn't set up for it. Neither was the videographer. And I was like, okay, I don't have the gear to do that and this go well. Can I go to the front for the beginning of their ceremony and then come to the back? And she was like, sure. And so that's what we confirmed.
Okay.
Holly, from my understanding, I went down to the front when she was walking down the aisle. I do have aisle shots of her walking down, right?
I think so.
And then I was going to just stay down there the whole time was my new plan, because she said just go to one spot and stay there.
And you didn't have a second shooter. Griffin did have a second shooter.
Griffin did have a second shooter.
Two videographers. And you were just one, so.
So I was going to stay there. And then I see this lady in the back being like, come back. Like, she's flipping out towards me and Griffin. So I walked back to the back to my own demise. Griffin did not. He stayed in the middle of the aisle at the front to get his video shots, which are great and awesome for him. But in all of Carson's photos from there out, there's their videographer standing right in front of them. And I'm stuck at the back of this giant church with this, and it's like kind of dark. And
were you on a 75 millimeter lens, or did you have a 200 that you could work with?
Max of 70.
Okay, 70. Okay.
Not. And so I'm stuck in the back. And then it got even worse because they started coming down the aisle, and it had just never clicked in Griffin. And I love him. I love working with him. He's great. Yeah. It had not clicked in his brain where I was, because I don't even think he realized I had gotten stuck back there. So every single photo of Holly and Carson exiting was just Griffin. And I don't even know if I delivered any of them to you guys. Did I deliver any of those?
I don't remember. You delivered so many great ones. I might have don't even realize.
But it made me sad because I pride myself in delivering. There are photographers who deliver like very few ceremony shots, and I like to deliver a decent amount.
Right.
So I was like,
yeah, you did great.
I think I told them right afterwards too. I was like, I'm gonna give them this warning, and then I'm gonna tell them again later. You guys get like no ceremony shots. I'm so sorry.
No, it was great.
But if I had been a more seasoned, I mean, because 5 years ago, man, yeah, I'd been shooting weddings for a couple years, but not very many. Also, I was like 19, so like
You were so young, it was crazy.
so if I had been more experienced, I would have navigated that way better with her, and it didn't take away from you guys having a good experience with me as a photographer.
It didn't. It was great.
But had I been more seasoned, it would have been a better thing for you guys, regardless of the church's rules.
Well, it was great. It was great. We don't regret anything for photo and video world.
But if you're going to a traditional venue, you either need to make sure you're hiring a super seasoned vendor and that they seem like they're on top of understanding all those things.
Yes.
Or if you're going with like some budget option and it's important to you, maybe you need to be the person that's on top of researching those things.
100%.
Because some churches don't have any rules, but some do.
Right.
And actually that church, I don't think that was a rule that the church had. I think that was her personal preference on how
might have been
wedding photographers should operate.
Might have been, and that's a big thing. And I love how you're being very kind with this, because you're putting it back on yourself, but really, it's a two-way street. It's the rules and regulations of a church versus the professionalism and the experience of your vendor. But it's ebb and flow. But I would say, if your photos are very important to you, maybe talk to the church manager, owner, pastor, whoever, and say, hey, is there any way to override this? Like, if we both and our families want to override this, can the photographer and videographer be down? Because many times it's that you can't be in the altar, the quote unquote altar area, which is where the steps are.
Yeah, they don't want you like walking in front, walking around. But I've heard of some cathedral weddings where they won't let the photographer into the space. Like, you have to shoot through like a window.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. It's really uncommon, but it exists. It's definitely a thing.
Wow.
Because they just don't want anything that's not involved in the exact moment, which I totally respect and understand. But like, if you didn't know that ahead of time and no one had like looked that up, and then your ceremony photos are just through a little window.
Yeah. Definitely get some creative shots there.
Yeah.
No, that's a big thing. There's a lot of rules and regulations, and the big one that we want you guys to know is that it's very common, and just like you shared, Mayme, it's like 10 minutes before the bride walks down the aisle that the planner, coordinator, whoever of the church is like, oh, by the way.
Yeah.
And not to be stereotypical, but typically it is it's an older congregation member.
Yes.
That
it's someone that's like serious and scary and that you're not going to be in the mood to argue with.
Yes.
Like, you're like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to argue with you. And, maybe you did the right thing, because it's better to be peaceful and keep the peace with everything and keep moving, because yes, the ceremony is important, but there's also there's great shots that you can get at sunset or at reception or with the family afterwards. There's stuff that you can do, and I've heard of photographers and videographers that literally remake the whole thing if they didn't get it. Like, I've heard of photographers saying, "Hey, can y'all walk down again?" or "Hey, can y'all kiss again near the cross?" Like, and of course, that's not preferred. You want to do it in the moment, but some people have gone back to stage it because they didn't get the shot.
Couldn't be me, but I get it.
Of course, you can't get the people back in the aisle again, but that's a true thing. And I'm grateful for what you did, but I'm also grateful for what Griffin did and Michaela.
Yeah, because you guys got a good video from it at least.
But Michaela, she was sitting on the second or third row with a tripod.
Yes.
And getting right there, which was good because you weren't invasive.
But I don't think that the lady even knew that Michaela existed.
Oh, see,
I think
that's good.
she thought Griffin and I were a team and hadn't seen. So like, that wasn't even part of the equation.
That's funny. That's funny. Listen, if I was standing back there, I'd have been like, hey, we're gonna veto that. I would have been there and be like, hey, I'm sorry, but I did not grow up at this church, and I get half a say so as well, so maybe not.
And again, I would handle it super differently now than I did at the time. But because like now, I think I'd be better at being like, okay, well, this videographer is literally going to be in every single photo. They're already down there. Mm-hmm. Can I please go to this corner over here? Sure. I'll stay out of the way. But Sure. I wasn't just going to
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know what to do. I froze. Like, I literally was in fight or flight your whole ceremony.
No, you did
I don't know what
great.
to do.
But you did get some good just wide shots, too, of the back, which those are good to have, too. I mean, the variety of it. So, no, everything was great. We enjoyed it. And you got some good shots of the musicians and prayer moments. We had so many people come up and pray.
Yeah.
And we did.
Well, I think if I would have stayed down there the whole time, it would have been fine. It was the error of going to the back.
Yeah.
Never being able to come back down.
Oh no. I was so, you're so in the moment when you're the bride or groom, you're so in the moment, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't, and if I knew there was a problem, I'd been like, wait, let's stop this ceremony, right? Get up here.
I'm glad
baby.
you didn't do that. That would have made me feel worse. Like, I can't imagine how bad that would have been. I do think some of it's because churches have been burned on, like, photographers, like, clumping up and down the aisle with loud shoes, back and forth and back and forth. Like, if I'm shooting in a church setting, if I'm in the middle aisle and I'm not actively moving, I will be crouched. I'm not ever standing.
Right.
Because you can't, the way it's set up, you can't, if you're a guest, you can't see.
Yes.
And as much as my photos are really important, the guest experience that's there, that is invited as a community member to, like, be part of your wedding day, I think that's more important in some ways than the photos I'm going to take.
Totally.
So I try to stay out of people's way. I try not to be loud.
Right.
I'm sure I failed here and there.
No.
One time at a wedding, I was crouched next to an aisle of guests, and one of the guests started trying to talk to me.
In the middle of the ceremony?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and it was something about, I don't know, like my hair. I don't remember what it was. And I just remember looking at them and being like, what are you doing? Like, I didn't know what to do. It's terrible. But.
Yeah, I act like I didn't hear him. Just keep moving.
Like, I was like, I crouched next to you so that I could, like, be out of your way, not that you would be like, oh, hi, friend.
Yeah.
How's your day going?
How's your day going? Some things that happen with me as a videographer when I'll go to the edge of an aisle to get some foreground of someone's head.
Oh, yeah.
And do this circular motion. And when I go to do it, then they're like, they notice that I'm there, and they're like, oh, let me move up away. And I'm like, no. I purposefully came behind you to use your hair. To use your head as my foreground.
when you're trying to get candids and people see that you're trying to get a candid, so then they just like freeze. And
Yeah. But and it go. There's so we could keep talking for 3 hours on this, but and it does come back to your vendor and the gear. Like, not all photographers and videographers are equal, and when you book that photographer and videographer, you like their portfolio, you've seen their work, and you trust them to do what they normally do to get the outcome that they have done. Now, if for some reason they have these extreme rules and regulations, you just have to realize this is going to be harder for them, and they might not get the outcome.
And again, and the professional vendor matters. Like if I was shooting your wedding this May, I would rent a lens. I would know I would reach out to the church, and they would have a rule, and then I would have rented a lens that worked with that rule. Or the church wouldn't have had a rule, and day of I would have said, okay, I've asked for these rules in writing. I was not sent these.
Right.
What can we do?
Totally. And it goes back to the point of a lot of these church wedding venues, they're operating like a church and not a wedding venue. They're operating like this is our holy ground. Yeah. And you as the outside vendor are not part of our holy community, and you don't need to infiltrate the altar with your camera.
Infiltrate the altar with your camera. Wow.
Stay out of the way with your cameras and videos and everything. So yeah, people they get okay. There's a lot to be said about that. Now, again, if you are in a different denomination where maybe it's more free flow and charismatic, you can go pretty much anywhere because they're already swinging on the chandeliers anywhere and falling out. So hey, having videographers and mega church style churches are used to there being 9 or 10 cameras up in everyone's faces, which becomes a joke.
I think really when we're talking churches, I don't even think people get married at those locations. I think I'm going to circle back to something you said earlier about why we've moved away from church weddings, and we can talk all day about cultures moved away from church, yada yada yada. Churches moved away from having pretty buildings.
Come on.
Who's going to get married in a gym?
They've been more functional, right?
No one's going to get married in this industrial space with all overhead lighting. Unless you want to, if you're some mega church and, the only lighting options are, sad LEDs or lasers.
Yes.
That doesn't work for a wedding.
Yes, totally.
So like,
Totally.
I think if churches wouldn't have got away from having really pretty spaces, I think more people, because when you look at the churches that people are still going to for weddings, it's these traditional spaces.
Yes.
And like, we can, hate on all those all day long for being stuffy or boring for worship.
But
the
beauty
of a ceremony in like a Catholic church with
the
all
cathedral.
the imagery and the paintings.
Oh, come on.
Oh, love it. Or even just like a simple sanctuary space with like the wooden ceilings and a colored carpet and the pews.
Right.
Stunning.
Absolutely.
It's stunning. But I've never shot a wedding in a mega church because people don't want to have fog machines for their wedding.
Oh, come on. They're not turning on the fog machines for the weddings, maybe.
No, but I'm saying like to get the good pictures of it and it to not look like you're in a Walmart.
Right.
You're going to have some like uplights and fog machines and like all these things.
True.
And no one's doing that.
That's true.
No one's going to do that.
Okay, we're talking a lot about the ceremony, but we do need to take time, and I'm trying to be mindful of time. Hopefully y'all aren't too bored and sticking around for these if you're really considering this. But let's talk about reception.
Okay.
Now we didn't worry about rules for reception, and we just went off to a different venue, and it's fine. The big thing with reception rules at a church is that they still want the integrity of we are a church, and we need to represent being a holy institution that is, being mindful with all of that. So there's guidelines around music and even certain decor. Like certain churches won't let you put certain things over their altar or cross or things like that. Like they don't let you decorate anything and everything. So music, decor, alcohol. We've already talked about ceremony and photography, but let's just talk about receptions for a minute. Do you have any thoughts here as we dive into receptions?
Yeah. So basically like the fact that if you're at a church, you don't get as much leeway on decor and things.
Right.
That's true. I mean, you're not going to have some party where everybody's like sloshed if you're in a church basement. That would be a little weird anyway.
Right. I don't know of any churches that do allow alcohol. Maybe there are. There have to be.
There probably are, but they are rare because they also, again, they don't want things broken. They don't want, so there's that. Like, you just have to have that expectation. And then beyond that, like, again, the event and the memories and the moments matter so much more than the aesthetic.
Right.
So if you're down to like, oh, I really want to get married at this church and I want to have a chill dinner reception and all this, but man, I can't install this flower arch that I really want. I would be the one to say your guests won't remember it.
Right.
And I'm not trying to like hate on florists. I love flowers. It's like I keep using flowers as an example, but it's like
Mayme hates all the florists out there.
love florists. I love them. No, it's just like it matters. There's so much more important things in the day than the aesthetic of it. Like the aesthetic is just not the most important part of your wedding day.
Right.
And some of my favorite photos that I've taken at weddings are in not cute, random little back rooms. Like, it's the moments that really end up mattering. So if you're like, oh, this church basement, whatever, it doesn't matter. People aren't going to remember. If you had a good event with good food and good moments, that's what people remember.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to discredit all the hard work that like planners
I thought you were about to say good
coordinators-
music, but you said moments, so...
Music too.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But I've had a lot of weddings with bad DJs that are good weddings. Like, the marriage is what matters. The marriage is what matters. So like everything beyond that ends up being extra.
Yes.
So like, if you have this massive budget and you really want an aesthetic event, I get it. If decor is the only thing you're worried about, like you're stressed that you're not going to be able to have this perfect decor, but it doesn't matter to you that much, I wouldn't let that be a deciding factor. And if, again, on vendors, if you have a good photographer, they're going to be able to find the good moments of your day at a less than perfect space. Obviously you couldn't get married anywhere and it look okay maybe, but I don't know. It's just, I don't think that that's a con.
Right.
I don't think that's a huge con.
That's good.
I just think it's a huge con because of the way the wedding industry has marketed that like your day has to be all of these things.
True.
And that's just really up to you.
Very true, Mayme. Come on. Good stuff. All that to say, if you're having your reception in the church, just expect that you're not going to be able to really cut loose and dance. I think that goes without saying as well.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's true. But I also, again, it's like, if you're having a wedding at a church and you're choosing to have the reception there, are you expecting that? Are you expecting it to turn into a nightclub? Because I don't think it's going to.
Right.
And again, that comes back down to like, it doesn't have to look perfect because it's just a different type of event.
Yes.
And
yes.
I've had friends get married at really small churches with really small, little tiny like tea and cake reception kind of things.
Yes.
And it's cute and it's fun.
Yes,
So.
absolutely. There's just a lot of things that go on with tradition and religion with all of these things. So, but yeah, there's a lot of rules, and you just don't have the flexibility or the creative freedom for photo, video, music, decor, pretty much every category, even down to the catering and what you're serving, food and drink and everything, is more controlled at a church. So you just need to know those things.
Can I do one last little side tangent? Which is just that, again, back to vendors. I think if you're planning your wedding and you've accepted all of that and you know it, and your vendor is somehow pushing back on that in some way, they're the wrong vendor.
Right, totally.
Like if you're if you have planned some small church wedding and your photographer's slipping out because they're not going to be able to get any pictures. Now, I'm not saying like because you planned it in a way that means they can't, like you didn't give them time outside or something. But like if they're just like, well, we're not going to be able to get good photos unless we, go to this other place. Maybe you need a new vendor.
That's exactly right. If you're getting bad vibes and red flags from the beginning, talking to them.
Yeah, if they're pushing back on your simple wedding event in any way, and you've accepted that your wedding is going to be what it is at a church, at a traditional venue,
right? And
you have a vendor that's pushing back against that, then they don't understand, and they're just trying to make you fit into a box, and you don't need that.
Yes. Totally.
Yeah.
That's good, Mayme. I love it. Yeah. Obviously, the big point of contention in the grand scheme of things is the, a couple that is homosexual getting married versus the traditional, and we're not going to speak on that a ton.
No.
And I didn't want to invite that, but churches, they have rules, and that's their belief system. They believe.
I would say I like if a church is going to have rules on how people choose to live their own lives and stuff. I like that we just don't do weddings for anyone that's not outside in our church.
Right.
Because it's wild to me when they start like picking and choosing what they're going to control and what they're going to accept and not accept.
Totally.
You're going to go into like someone's whole life of like, oh, did you live with someone before you got married? Nope.
Yeah.
Can't get married.
Right.
But I guess if they have that many rules, like maybe they're going to, but like that's.
Yes.
I think
it can get very legalistic and gets some gray lines there.
Yeah.
Some gray lines.
I don't even know how they would intend to do that.
Exactly.
Anyway, so.
But it can be very controlling down to some crazy stuff. I'm sure we could ask the internet and get some crazy stories.
I think the majority of churches do just have you have to be connected to us in some way or sponsored by a member of the church or
absolutely, something. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
And as a vendor, any vendor, not just venue, but any vendor, you can choose to have whatever boundaries you want to have as your professional vendor, whatever you want to do. Your ideal client, you love backyard weddings and you love certain things. And as a DJ, I'm going to like certain things, or doing video for certain weddings. And, as much as the bride or groom, you're trying to look for your vendor, the vendors are also trying to look for you. They want the ideal couple to work with. So, okay, moving on. Not always, we've touched on this a little bit, but another con is it's not always ideal for natural light and visuals. Can you talk about, Mayme, since you are a great photographer, do you have issues? Now, you talk about small, dark room being amazing. So talk about natural light, visuals, lighting, inconsistency, the cheap LEDs, which, by the way, on video, getting the banding on the LEDs, it just drives me crazy.
That happens on mirrorless cameras, too.
Yeah.
For some reason, if I put my mirrorless camera in silent mode, I don't understand the technology well enough to understand it. I start seeing bands from LEDs.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't like to shoot on silent anyway because I'm scared people don't think I'm taking photos.
Oh, okay. So you don't shoot on silent.
I usually have the little fake sound on because then at least At least people think I'm working.
Like I'm working. I should turn my red button on so when I'm ding, yeah, I'm actually working, guys.
So are you asking, like, do I think churches have bad lighting?
Yeah, like what do you?
It depends on the building and
Right.
also the time of day.
Right.
There are sanctuaries that have
Windows.
incredible lighting at a certain time of day, and it's horrible the rest of the day. I've never been, other than y'all's, I don't think I've ever shot a church wedding where like the lighting affected me.
Okay.
And the only reason the lighting affected me with y'all's is because I couldn't get close enough. So it was like,
Right.
again, totally on me. That was so on me.
And you use flash when necessary.
Oh yeah, but a lot of times I don't like to use flash during ceremonies. So if I think I'm gonna have to use flash, I'll ask the couple ahead of time if they're okay with it, and I might pop it for a couple of photos. But I can only think of one ceremony I've ever actually used flash on.
As a videographer, we love that. So
Yeah, I just, ceremony and flash don't go together well. So I would rather your image be a little grainy and have a lot of noise, or be a little bit underexposed or something, than I would be popping a flash 50 million times during your ceremony.
Right.
That seems not fun to me.
right.
So I had one wedding though, and it was like an in-home wedding, like a backyard / in-home.
Okay.
And they were so far behind that they got married after dark, and they only had tea lights.
Oh.
So they had flash for their ceremony.
Right.
Because it was going to be dark.
True. Yep.
So.
Well, with this, talking about photos, because this is your world, Mayme, and me too when I'm doing video, but yours specifically. Talk about the visuals and photo ops that you have at churches versus maybe a traditional venue.
Oh, man.
Think about sunset hour. Think about all those things.
I love structure. I'll pick that all day long. So at most churches, especially older church buildings, there's a lot of architecture that I can work with. And that's actually ideal for me. I'm going to thrive in an environment like that.
Okay.
So you get the front of the church building, you get big doors. Again, you get that moment where you walk out of the wedding and your family walks out and they're hugging you. That's so cool. Family photos feel different in that kind of environment too. And like wedding party, really fun.
I loved our photos. Actually, right when we got out of the door, those were some of the best photos.
Yeah, those are
that
some
you
of my
took.
favorites that I take.
Yeah, keep going.
And those don't exist in a lot of traditional venues because it's like some weird side, like it's not this big door and this big thing that everyone leaves
And the
out.
pillars outside, anyway, keep going, yeah.
So fun. Those are great. If I'm in a really traditional space, I like to look for beams of light, art that I can frame people in.
Yeah.
Like anything that's going to frame subjects is really fun. And sometimes I'm doing that and you don't even know.
Right.
I think one of the image examples that I may have sent you before we started filming, it's a groom in a room talking with some of his groomsmen, and he's framed in a picture frame that's behind his head. And I didn't make him move to get that shot. He was just standing there, and then I had to move a bunch of different ways so that I could get a photo of him framed in that.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels a little angelic, a little bit like a halo. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I actually took some portraits of him framed in the same way.
How awesome.
I love stuff like that. And those don't always exist in a venue that's curated to be like minimalist and aesthetic.
Yes.
Which I love curation too. Curation has its own beauty. You can find cool things there.
Totally.
What else?
That's good.
Weird little things. I don't know. Churches have weird little things.
Yes.
You get people walking up weird little stairwells and weird little back doors and peeking out of little like windows, and you know, you're up on a balcony and you see the flower girl like leaning over the balcony with her head about to fall off of it.
Yeah.
Those kind of things you don't get in a venue that's like designed to be really efficient.
That's true. I love that.
They're really fun. So
I love that. What do you think about, sunset photos if you don't have a bunch of grass and trees and it's the parking lot? What do you think about that? Say it's totally fine?
I mean, it's totally fine if it's just a parking lot. It might be a little sad, but like if there's a parking lot with a church that's right next to it that I could use the exterior of the church building, awesome.
Like the shrubs, or the brick, or
the shrubs, the brick, the building, unless you're in, the middle of nowhere, like if you're in Nashville, okay, you get married at a church, you're probably near downtown or
Right.
something. Like there's more things I can do. There's
Yeah.
streets, there's sidewalks, there's other walls, there's other buildings.
True.
And if you're in like Alabama, there's probably the woods behind you. Like you don't have to have this fancy large amount of space to work with.
That's good.
I say that, and now I'm probably going to go to some church and be like, this is a parking lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, if you have the right couple, you can make a parking lot work. A
That's
parking
true.
lot can be really artistic and cool.
Come on.
We can do something next to the AC unit. You know, gray backdrop. There you go.
I love it.
Like,
I love
I don't
this
know.
because, and it's important for everyone who's watching to realize that not every photographer or videographer has this mindset that you have. And I think that, and not to say, you know, there's a superior and inferior way, but I think when you choose your vendors, you need to choose a vendor who is whatever is there to work with, they can work with it.
yeah, because I mean,
Like, that's what I'm getting with you. You're like, I don't think anything's a problem. You're saying whatever happens, we can do it, you know?
yeah, I mean, I might laugh about it, make jokes about it afterwards, but like, we're going to do it. Because my thing with weddings is, again, every vendor has their own ideal client. Okay, so there are weddings that are so curated, and I get that. But if I wanted to shoot an ultra curated thing, I would be working for a magazine.
Right.
I'm shooting weddings, and while those have really beautiful, awesome moments, and they do have things like portrait sessions that I get to be in control of, everything else this is just a day that I'm documenting. So I'm going to treat it like I'm documenting a day.
Totally.
And I'll step in. Like I'm not so far into that you're not going to get group photos because I have to tell you what to do. No. Like I'm going to tell you what to do for couples portraits. I'm going to tell you what to do for group photos. But like if you are walking up a set of stairs, it's not my job to make that like different than it is.
Right.
It's my job to see beauty in what it is.
That's good. That's good.
And that's the fun part about weddings, because if I don't do that, they all start to feel the same.
Right.
When I second shoot for other people, it's actually really hard for me because, like, if their style is different, I just kind of zone out, and then I feel like I don't get any good photos because I just stop looking for what I want. I start just like waiting for things to happen.
Okay.
Versus like the way that I shoot is like I just have to be focused on everything that's happening.
Yeah.
And like you almost anticipate, like you know, like if I've walked through a church, I know where there's light coming in cool spots.
Right.
Which means if you're some little kid standing over near that spot, I'm going to be hovering near you because I know you're going to do something and you're going to look up the right way.
Yes.
And that's taken experience though. And it also takes the fact that I'm not a photographer that's going to fix buttons.
Right.
Like, you know, if the bride can't get her dress buttoned up, I'm not going to step in and do it because I need to photograph whoever's going to step in and do it. So it's just a mindset that I have. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I love that. The last con for booking a church wedding venue is the limited ability to personalize your space, which we have touched on a little bit, but just to drive this home more is when you are at a traditional wedding venue where there's a lot of outdoor space, they do allow you to, you could put the arbor, the cross, whatever, at whatever angle in the grass patch you want to.
Yeah.
You can make your seats this full amphitheater oval type thing and come down like the far left or right instead of a traditional center aisle. You can make this. You can make where you're getting married right in the middle. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
And then everyone's surrounding you like a full circle almost. And you have you seen that? And
As a photographer, that feels scary to me because I'm just in everybody's
where-
way the whole time.
yeah, it's like, where am I going? So yeah, there's just less ways to move things around. A lot of churches, this is where everything is, and there's no moving it around. But in a blank slate venue, you can turn the dance floor here, and there's ceremony here, and put the cake here, and do this here.
And again, I think that just goes back to a values conversation. Like, what are your values for your day? What's your budget for your day? Cause,
Absolutely.
You know, like if your budget for your day is huge and you want to go do all these cool things, awesome. If your budget is $10,000-$20,000 and you're like, I can't do that, and it doesn't bother you, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
So it's just the values of your day, because you can make sacrifices in other areas to make those things happen. You know, you might spend less on your dress so that you can get a venue where you can move the dance floor around.
Right.
Or you might spend a lot more on your honeymoon and get married at church.
Totally.
You can do what you want to do.
Absolutely.
So
100%.
You have to be able to. You have to be willing to step back and look at your wedding as your event, and then decide what matters for you.
That's good. Priorities. Okay, a few stats for us here as we're wrapping this conversation up with Mayme Castile, photographer. Go follow her page. She's amazing. She was our wedding photographer 5 years ago and doing even better work now, more than ever. And it was great then. Okay, so a few stats, and this is from the sources of this, so you guys can look this up as well. It's from ourworldindata.org/marriages-and-divorces. So just stats on marriage and divorce. And then time.com has American Church Decline Religion Poll. Then there's pewresearch.org has some stats on Christianity and stats on that. AmericanSurveyCenter.org and the Knot. All this stuff comes from those 5 resources right there. There's different articles that you can read about. But so the strongest that church attendance has been in America, pretty much universally, historically, I should say, it was right after World War II. I think we're not going to turn this into a huge history lesson, but so it says in 1937, about 73% of Americans reported belonging to a house of worship. By 2020, 6 years ago now, that was 47%. So, I guess not a huge change, but it's just a cultural rewrite. Mm-hmm. It's less than 0.5%. Less than 0.5% of all of America are associated with the church. It used to be, 3/4 of America was associated with a house of worship, with a church building, with the church construct, and membership. Is just drastically going down for lots of reasons. That could be a whole other video, and there's a lot of reasons why people have lost trust in the church institution. But just
we'll leave that for like a Theo Bro podcast.
That's right. That's a whole different one. Mayme attends a church. I also attend a church, and we believe in the church system. We're not saying we don't. We just reading some stats here. Memberships, been down with it as well. Okay, among married Americans 65 and older, 60% say they were married by a religious leader in a religious location. Among married 18 to 34-year-olds, that number drops to 33%. So again, it's just, there's a lot of stats. I'm kind of skimming over these things because it's basically people used to be a lot more religious than they are, and they're just not as associated to churches anymore. So in a nutshell, which we kind of said this at the beginning, it's just people are less associated to a church, so therefore they just get married at a church less and less. So it's not that, hey, what happened to church weddings? Like, there's still church weddings. And like you brought up, Mayme, there are still plenty of people who are not religious that want that church chapel look, which is good. So I guess the closing statement is that if sometimes if faith is central to your relationship, a church wedding is powerful, very meaningful. But even if faith is not, but you still want the aesthetic of that, then you can still get married at church. But if you have a lot of budget and you want more flexibility and the aesthetics that you really prefer, you may want a different venue. This was a cool stat. I found this on ministrywatch.com. Our church is closing in America. When couples think of getting married in a church, the setting can vary a lot. In the U.S. alone, there are roughly 380,000 to 400,000 churches, from tiny country chapels to grand cathedrals. For comparison, okay, this is crazy. There are roughly 13,700 McDonald's and over 17,000 Starbucks in the United States alone, meaning churches outnumber major commercial brands by a huge margin. Is that not wild?
That is crazy.
Is that not wild?
But you drive down Gallatin Pike, you're like church.
It makes
church. Like,
Yep. So yeah, it's but of those like 400,000, apparently 400,000 church buildings, church structures, there are only around 200 cathedrals, like large cathedrals. Which I guess adds up if you start thinking about where all these large cathedrals are.
200,000 is a lot.
Yeah. Wait, what did you just say?
200,000 is a lot, though.
No, 200.
Oh.
200.
I thought you said 200. I thought you were saying like half of the.
No. I'm sorry. No.
wow.
It's like it says
'cause I was
193 here,
wondering- yeah.
so it's about 200 according to this ministrywatch.com.
There must be big ones. That has to be like big.
It has to be big ones because there's
Which that tracks because the U.S. is so young.
right.
You know, compared to like if you're in Europe, I feel like the majority of church buildings are like those older, bigger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Interesting.
If you're getting married at one of those 193 cathedrals, hit me up.
Yeah. yes. There's about a little over 1,600 mega churches nationwide. I didn't know there were that many, but I guess there's a good bit of mega churches.
I don't know what defines a mega church.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question too. Yeah, because some churches are smaller, but they act like they're a mega church. Like it's a smaller community, but they kind of act more mega church corporate vibes. Nothing against mega churches, but they operate like a system of a mega church. But then, yeah, that's a good question. What makes a mega church? Yeah. So yeah, I think that statistics of almost 400,000 churches. So like, there's the idea. There's plenty of churches out there.
Yeah.
So if you want to get married in a church, there's a lot of options. Maybe not a lot of options for the big cathedrals, which are awesome. But okay, I think that wraps up this video, Mayme. Next video is all about backyard weddings.
Yes.
With Mayme here, we're going to be talking about backyard weddings. I don't do a ton of backyard weddings because as a DJ, we thrive off of a big crowd. But there are still, DJs and backyard weddings. But if you're debating on, again, I think church weddings and backyard weddings can fall under these more intimate and budget-friendly weddings. Mm-hmm. So this is a Wedding Venues official YouTube channel. We have a lot of cinematic tours of these standard venues, whether that be a ballroom or a farmhouse, like a white style or like the traditional brown style. We have full walkthrough tours that you guys can check those out. And the price range on those, it ranges really, and we have a glass house venue in Alabama, Eden, out of Rainbow City's beautiful, like more of elopement micro weddings. Mm-hmm. So there's different options on the page. Check those out if you're looking at booking a venue. And they range anywhere from like about $2,000 or $3,000 to about $14,000 or $15,000. So it's a large range of how much these venues cost. But you can get solid venues for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. Great, beautiful venues. And it depends on if you're staying overnight or not. But again, church, I've never heard of a church venue costing thousands of dollars. I mean, good luck with your wedding planning. If you get married at church, that's awesome. That is great. If you don't, that's also great. I hope this video has been beneficial to know the pros and the cons, the rules, the regulations, but also how meaningful a church wedding can be. And yeah, we have got some more venue tours coming out this spring, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, next video is all about backyard weddings. Maybe by the time you watch this video, it's already out, so we'll see you on the next video.